Well, good morning everyone, and welcome to the Sabi Sands in the Kruger National Park on Nkuhuma Private Game Reserve. It's another beautiful day here. It's 16 degrees Celsius, 60 degrees Fahrenheit, so a little bit crisp and cool for us, and you'll notice that's why I'm wearing a beanie and a jacket still. We are in this area following up on female leopard tracks, and we actually managed to bump into Karula as we were leaving Nkuhuma last night to head back towards the Manyeleti, a camp where some of us have been staying. And we had a beautiful sighting of her walking down the road very close to the quarantine clearings, and we are now following her footprints. We're probably about a mile from where we last saw her now, and I've just been out checking this area for any tracks or signs of her. I've just seen the sun popping up over the horizon, so I'm going to let VM show you the beautiful sunrise while I continue to look for tracks here. So give me a moment or two and then I'll be back on the vehicle. Okay, well, there's been no luck finding any tracks at this specific road junction. It is quite a difficult junction to check for tracks because the substrate of the sand is very hard, and after the rain we had 2 nights ago, the sand has become quite solid and almost cemented after all of that moisture. So a few more vehicles need to drive around, churn up that sand, make it dry and dusty, and then it becomes easier to see the tracks. But right now, I'm just going to have to take a guess as to where we should head to, and how I'm going to make that decision is by factoring in to the equation where she was last night, where she's been moving. She's been moving predominantly south, and at the last road junction she veered east. So southeast has been a general movement, and we're going to continue in that direction. What a beautiful morning it is. And just to keep you updated, Brent's plans are to go and search for any sign of the Nkuhuma Pride of lion. They were quite close to our northeastern boundary last night, and their plan is to head there and see if they haven't come back onto our property. And on camera with myself today is VM, and Brian is teamed up with Brent, and we've got Nikki, Alex and Will all in the final control. Now, for those of you who may be joining for your first time, a very warm welcome. And just to let you know, this is a live safari. It's happening this very second, many, many miles away from where a lot of you are watching from. And not only is it live, but it's also interactive. You can ask us questions at any stage, and to do that you would hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or send an email through to questions@wildearth.tv. We really do appreciate your questions, so even if we don't answer them immediately, please keep sending them through, because it certainly does help us in fine-tuning and tailoring the safari to something to topics that you are interested in. And that's typically what would happen on a regular safari when we do have guests on board. By depending on the questions they ask, they steer you in a certain direction, and we would like to do exactly the same with you. Last tracks of Mafazi Ingwe head east on Pangolin Track. At Twin Dams Junction, I haven't had any sign of them, but she has been heading south predominantly from quarantine. Now, I might be dreaming, but I thought I just got a smell that's very, very similar to that of wild dogs. It could be a mongoose of sorts. They've got a similar, quite pungent and almost rancid smell. So I'm just going to get out and double check that there haven't been any wild dogs running around here. I must come clear and immediately admit that the smell is coming from the mud wallow in front of us. So there have been no wild dogs, and that was simply me getting a little bit too excited. And the smell that I smelt was the pungent odor coming from that mud wallow. There's a lot of animals that will use these mud wallows: elephants, buffalo, warthogs, and as well as mainly using it as a health spa where they can cool off. Roll in the mud creates a protective layer of or covering of the mud to keep parasites away. They also use it as a toilet, so it can become quite tangy in terms of the smell. And that tangy smell is kind of similar to that of wild dogs, almost like the smell of a wet blanket that's been left in a hot car for 3 or 4 days. There's no sign of any tracks of this leopard continuing down here, and I was hoping we were going to find some here. So I'm going to be required to be on and off the vehicle quite a lot now to try and establish exactly where this female leopard has headed. And while I'm doing that, it'll be a perfect opportunity to cut across to Brent and see what he's been up to and exactly what his plans are. So we'll see you a bit later.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Nkuhuma Private Game Reserve. My name's Brent. On camera with me today is Brian and the Thumb. So I know Scotty's already giving you the lowdown on what's happening. So we are on our way towards our northern boundary. There was a report quite late last night of the Nkuhuma Pride relatively close to our boundary. So fingers crossed that they've moved towards our boundary. And for those of you who might be new, please remember that we are live, so you're seeing exactly what we're seeing out here in the African bush, and we are interactive, so you can ask us questions as we move through the bush about what we're seeing, or if anything, just you've been wondering about the bush. And you can do that by sending an email to questions@wildearth.tv, or if you're on Twitter, just use the hashtag #SafariLive. So nice, cool morning. Hopefully we can fill it with some cats. And if not, we'll find whatever else there is out there to see. Morning, Belle. Welcome to the Sunrise Safari. Bell is from California. Bell said they had audio of lions roaring on the Nkuhuma cam about 45 minutes ago. Thanks a lot for that update, Bell. I'm actually crossing over the dam wall now, so hopefully we'll find some tracks close by. Because it's been quite cool this morning, overcast, a bit dark. Quite a lot of the birds are just waking up now. You can hear a few of them getting going. Dawn chorus is a little bit late this morning. A little bit of mist around. So it's going to be quite exciting to see those lions if we do. I haven't seen them for what seems like an age since I last saw the Nkuhuma Pride. I noticed from the tracks the other day that young male is definitely filling out quite a bit. His tracks are getting much bigger. So he might be on his way out shortly when the dominant lions decide he's old enough to pose a potential mating threat. So occasionally we do have some signal breakup in this little stretch through here. Don't worry, it won't be too long and we'll shoot through it as soon as possible. Hopefully not though. So you notice quite often my head gets stuck off the side of the car. I'm just checking for tracks. The tracks we look for are generally of your larger predators, so we look for wild dog, lion, leopard, cheetah. Don't really follow hyena tracks too much because if you have to track hyena, sometimes they can do 25 kilometers in a night, and we'd be driving around almost the whole property to find the hyena back at the den. For those of you who weren't on the sunset safari last night, we had a brief view of Mvula on a kill, but just off our boundary. So if we get no luck with the lions, I definitely think we'll move back through that area. From what I could see, there wasn't much left of the kill, so maybe he's come down and started moving again. And that is also right on the periphery of his boundary that he shares with Tingana, and the male leopard that's sort of dominant over Arathusa. And there has been a lot of vocalization recently of male leopards all around, so maybe there's a bit of a territorial dispute starting to build. It'll be quite interesting to watch as we go forward in the next couple of months. Morning, Tom from Holland. Welcome on Sunrise Safari. Tom's asking if a young male lion who's by himself leaves his natal pride, how does he become part of a multiple male lion coalition? Surely if there were two males or three males, they would kill him. So it's actually quite funny when you watch coalitions start. So these young males are running around on the peripheries and they sort of will see each other from a distance, and they get that all like, is he friendly, is he not? They sort of look at each other, suss each other out, and even sometimes where there's 3 males and they meet a single male, if they're of similar age, in this area in particular, and you must remember a lot of animal behavior is area specific rather than species specific. They will sort of feel each other out for sometimes a week or so, start moving closer to each other, sort of maybe hunt together, but it is quite a process, and once those coalition bonds are formed, they are very strong. But it is possible for a single male lion to join a multiple lion coalition, as long as they're around the same age. So it's quite often you'll find that the coalitions are mostly unrelated, or even if there are, there might be 2 that were related and 2 that aren't, or 1 that is and 3 that are. Without actually doing genetic work on them, it's really difficult to work out the exact dynamics of a male lion coalition, especially because they do come from quite far. So new lion coalitions will just arrive, so to speak. So especially where we're here at Djuma and in the Sabi Sands, it has an open boundary with the Kruger National Park. So quite often a lot of those male lions will move 3 or 4 territories away from their natal territory, because they just kept getting pushed by dominant males in different areas, and then they'll sort of arrive in this new area at about the right age to start competing, and we often don't have an idea where they've come from. They could have come from Kruger. If they've come from within the Sabi Sands, because there's so many lodges and stuff, you normally have an idea and people can trace the lineage a little bit better as they move. But if they come from the east, from the Kruger National Park, there's no real commercial properties in that there, so it's almost impossible to tell where those lions come from. Okay, we're on our northern boundary now, and I know where the lions were last seen was to the east and about 200 meters in, but probably about 3 kilometers down this boundary. But as we know, the lions can walk quite fast, so what we're going to do is go very slowly down the boundary and see if we can find any tracks. Once we're at the top of the crest, we'll switch off the car for a little bit, maybe listen for a while. Hopefully we get some more roaring, and that'll give us a much better idea about where to start looking. And hopefully we have some lion luck this morning. Guys, while we check this long straight boundary road, we're going to cross over to Scott for a little bit, see what he's been up to, and we'll be back with you a little later. So enjoy your time with Scott.
Welcome back, and sadly no major updates yet in terms of finding more tracks of this female leopard that we're looking for. However, that's not a problem, because quite often it's the process of elimination that we use to help track down animals, and by checking certain roads and establishing that she hasn't moved there, it helps us to guess where she could be moving. So we are still making progress, but it would be best to obviously find her tracks or another animal along the way, and that's something else that's important to understand. Even though we may be focusing on looking for a specific animal, there's nothing stopping us from bumping into any animal along the way. So we're not going to overlook any other opportunities while we are tracking this leopard. But we do need to have a goal and to focus on trying to find her. now. I just need to check carefully here because the ground's quite hard. There are hyena that have been moving down the road towards us, but no leopard that I can see. The hyena's print is considerably different to that of lion and leopard. The toes are very banana shaped, and their back pad is 2 lobes that are very angular, whereas the cats have got 3, and their toes don't have these very distinctive banana shapes where the toe meets the other toes. Angie in Ohio, good morning and welcome on board. Angie is asking a very pertinent question, and a question that a lot of people are interested in. And that is whether any of us thought, could Karula, this female leopard, potentially be pregnant? And it's a discussion that we've been having over the last few weeks, but nobody knows the answer. Stefan and Brent were the other 2 guides on the vehicle last night that got to see Karula, and I actually asked them, guys, what do you think? And nobody could come up with a conclusive answer. I personally think that she is, but I don't have too much to go on, and it's just a gut feeling. Obviously we are looking at the furthest back section of her belly, which is very white in color, and it almost creates a small tube about this long. It is typical of female leopards that are pregnant to have this kind of bulging belly that flaps below at the base of their hind quarters, and it could be that she is pregnant, or it could simply be that she's an older female that has a bit of a saggy stomach from giving birth to previous litters. So nothing conclusive, Angie, but one thing that is important for everyone to know is that she did lose her last cub that was only a couple of months old when it got killed by a hyena around the end of December last year. And I've seen leopards mating as close to a week after losing cubs in order to get the next generation into the system. And I'm sure she was no longer, she wouldn't have wasted time. How long she would have taken to mate, we're not sure of, because nobody saw her mating. But I'm fairly certain she would have mated by then, or by within a month after losing her cubs. And with a 3-month gestation period, let's say she conceived around the beginning of February, March, April. That's 3 months. So we are at that stage where she could very well surprise us with a few little cubs. And wouldn't that just be wonderful? Fortunate at the moment here on Juma. We're very fortunate at the moment here on Juma because we've technically got 2 extra leopards floating around, and the reason for that is because Karula successfully raised 2 male cubs to maturity. They are now coexisting within her habitats, within her territory rather. So for now, their father hasn't kicked them out and they're still tolerated here. And they basically are just living in and amongst her territory. She doesn't want to really have anything to do with them because they have got very big appetites and they need to learn to feed themselves. But they have been seen with her stealing some of her hard-won meals, and they're considerably larger than her now, so she doesn't have much say in the matter, but it makes for increased leopard density for us. It's a small window. It'll be interesting to know how long they'll be around for. There's no set rule, but at some stage their father is going to tolerate them less and less until finally they need to move off and establish their own territory. But while we are looking for her here in some of her usual hangabouts, we could well bump into one of the sons. Quarantine and Nkuhuma are their names. Interestingly enough, we had female leopard tracks coming along this road yesterday morning, and I'm 99% certain that it wasn't Karula. So who it was, we're not sure. Possibly another female that we've seen mating only once before have we seen her, but it was in this area, and she was mating with Mvula, the dominant male leopard of the area. So we've seen her and possibly Shadow, one of Karula's daughters from a previous litter. She's a mother on her own now, Shadow. But it is interesting to note that there has been another female leopard lurking in and amongst Karula's territory. And territory dynamics are continually changing. And when we did see Karula last night, and I've just remembered this now, I should have told you earlier, it appeared like she had a little bit of a blood and possibly a wound, very small wound, nothing serious, on her neck, around her face. So maybe she's been in a territorial dispute with another female. They certainly do compete quite ferociously with one another for territories. It's females competing with females and males competing with males. So you can get 5 or 6 females having smaller territories than the males within one dominant male leopard's territory. What will be at Treehouse Dam? Oh, we have somebody. But that somebody has just disappeared, but will no doubt pop up again. And I'm just going to get onto position here on the dam wall, and we will show you exactly who is here to welcome us to the dam. Some animals are a bit camera shy. This looks like it could be one. And at the moment, all you can see is that. But in a moment or two, I'm fairly certain if you look towards the bottom of the screen, we're going to see 2 nostrils pop up. Come on. You'll notice a few small terrapins, and what they're doing are feeding on the parasites. There we go, there are the nostrils. And there's a terrapin climbing onto the back trying to bite off parasites. So that is a hippopotamus, the large animal, whose back and nostrils are the only things we're going to get to see, as well as a small terrapin. Other than that, the bush is very quiet this morning. There doesn't seem to be too much bird song, and that could be because the sun isn't up yet, and a lot of the animals are still defrosting after a cold evening. Despite the fact that things are quiet now, it is important to stop and listen, because we could be alerted to predators from a far, far distance by the alarm calls of the various animals that cry out when they see lion or leopard. Not only is it good to listen, but it also gives us an opportunity to scan very closely under the bushes, in various hiding places where predators with great camouflage could be hiding. You may hear a strange gurgling sound quite faintly. Those are impala, male impala that are rutting. Good morning, Catherine in Texas, and welcome along with us. Catherine is interested to know whether the herbivores find it harder during the dry winter months here in the Sabi Sands. And yes, Catherine, they certainly will find it more difficult. And it's a great time of the year for predators to capitalize on weakening and aging herbivores that are battling to get enough food and nutrition. So it certainly does make a noticeable impact, and especially this year we are going to expect the herbivores to have an even harder winter than normal because we have not got as much rain as we typically do during the summer months. So it is something that is going to have an impact on the herbivores, but at the same time it's going to have a positive impact on the carnivores. Okay, well, we've spent some time here and there's not too much going on. So we will leave the camera-shy hippo and the little terrapins feeding on him, or the parasites on him, and see what else we can find. I've just seen 2 parrots land in this marula tree ahead of us, and hopefully we'll be able to get you a view of them. You can hear them screeching. And I'm going to try my luck and get as close as we can. We're going to battle because the light is very dull, but let's give them a chance to work his magic. So this is the brown-headed parrot. It's the only parrot we get in this area, and it's about the size of a coffee mug. It's not a very big parrot. Oh, and it's got some visitors. Wonderful. And we've got a question through from Diane in Michigan. Good morning, Diane, and it's a bird-related question, so a perfect time to answer it. Diane's noticed that we're not seeing as many birds as we used to in the summer months, and that certainly is correct, Diane, and well done on noticing that. All of the migratory birds that will come to South Africa from various parts of Africa and even from other continents have all headed back now, so there's very few migratory birds that are still in the area that I know of. I'm just trying to think if there are any migrants still floating about, and I'm sure there'll be 1 or 2, but the majority have headed off, and that would have considerably dented the bird population. I think there's about 80 birds that can migrate into this area as a rough estimate. So out of the 400 or so that we get in the Kruger National Park and surroundings, we've lost about a quarter of them to the migration, and that's why if you're a birder, you probably want to come on safari during the summer months because you'll be able to tick more birds off the list. Thanks for sending that question through, Diane, and I will be sure to keep an eye out for any migrants that are still around, because that will be interesting to see. Well, I've just stopped and I'm reversing so that we can show Blair in Canada the tree house that causes this dam its name. And thanks for asking that, Blair, and prepare to see one of the finest tree houses ever created. You'll notice there's one or two planks or poles in the top right of the screen. That is the remains of the tree house. It's not easy to see, but I'm sure on that top right-hand corner you'll see two very straight poles, one vertical and one horizontal. And there's actually three that I can see in there. So that is the remains of the tree house that caused the dam to get its name. And it would have certainly been nice to see the tree house back in the day when it was, I'm hoping, a more elaborate platform than what remains today. And what will be interesting is to ask some of the guides, Texan and Aubrey, about the treehouse and what it would have looked like in its prime. Certainly a beautiful setting to have a treehouse in, and it's quite popular to have platforms or hides close to dams where you can come and sleep out when you're on holiday. And at various lodges and private reserves, it's not uncommon to have structures at waterholes, so you can come out with a few mattresses and sleep out under the stars and see what comes to the waterhole in the evening. I remember doing it when I was about 12 or 13 at a friend of mine's private farm in the Timbavati where Mark lives. And on the topic of Mark, just to let all of you know, he should be back from a wonderful leave that he's been having down in the Cape, and he headed down there for Mother's Day, which is really great. He hasn't seen his mum for a while, and I'm sure he's having a great time down there, but he'll be back around the 16th or 17th of this month. Anyway, I've forgotten what I was saying now, but it couldn't have been that important, so we are going to continue on with our mission. And that is to find you guys something interesting to look at. While we continue our search, though, it is probably worth an update from Brent, because we haven't heard from him for a while, so why don't you head over and see what he's been up to, and I'll catch up with you a little bit later.
Welcome back, guys. Some good news. We've been checking the boundaries for these lion tracks, and we've actually found the tracks now, and they are really, really fresh, and you can see that by the edges are very dark and wet. You can see the whole Pride has moved through here. So we can see that the whole Pride has moved through this area. So we're going to be right fresh on the tracks. This looks like from earlier this morning rather than last night. We had a bit of rain over the night, and I cannot see any water droplets in the tracks. So very exciting stuff. I had a feeling we might get lucky with lions. Obviously these are just tracks, but I'm wearing the lucky red Masai shuka that seems to attract lions in this part of the world, but it chases them away in East Africa. So it looks like the full Pride. I don't see any big male tracks with. So it looks like the coalition males, the Matimbas, might not be with the Pride, but you never know, they might have joined up from another direction. These are really, really sharp, crisp tracks. So we're going to move a little bit quickly on them because I can see them quite nicely, even while driving. Good morning, Diane. Diane from Michigan. Diane wants to know if I've ever got so caught up while tracking that I've driven to a ditch or tree. More than once, Diane. I have, especially when you're tracking through long grass or following animals through long grass, you often can't see stumps and holes in the grass, and you get temporarily cemented to a position. But fortunately, these vehicles we use are really great off-road, and we can normally get ourselves out of there without too much trouble. So, which way did they go? We're at the next big junction. Have a quick look. Did they go towards Buffelshoek Dam? Or did they go towards... Looks like they're coming this way. Let's have a quick check. No. Oh, they were lying down around here. So I'm just gonna try to get a direction, but I don't have. Oh, nope. That is all spotted, Brian. You see that? So, there we go. So they lay down over here, and it looks like they've gone this way. Yep. So that's quite interesting. We know they haven't crossed out of that side because we've already done that. So that means that almost definitely in this sort of corner, in the northeastern corner of the reserve. I have to go slower here because the road, it's a bit harder to see the tracks on. It's a bit harder to see the tracks on this road is that the sand isn't as thick and it's been compacted, so we have to look a bit more carefully, and especially after a little bit of rain would have compacted the sand even more. And there's quite a lot of grass on this road as well, so we just still going to move quite quickly. So we want to find these cats, but we also want to make sure we don't, if they leave the road, we don't miss where they left. Just like they have now. See, the thing is, there we go. Sorry guys, I'll be back with you in a second. I just need to concentrate on these tracks for a second. Just going to get to the next. Have a look on that side for me there, Brian, where it's a bit easier. Yep. You got them there? Yep. Okay, perfect. Jennifer from Missouri, welcome on Sunrise Safari. Jennifer is wondering how far the lions would have to be from the Juma camp to pick up their roaring this morning. Jennifer, I actually don't know, to be 100%. I'm not sure of the same sound capabilities, but I don't know how close they would have to be. I think they could be quite a distance. I mean, a lion's roar really resonates through the bush, specifically if it was a male, a big male. they're still there. Can you check that side there for me, Brian? So one of the most important things when you're tracking is you don't want to look right at the edge. You want to try and look a little bit ahead. That gives you a chance to see the tracks and possibly see the animals if you are close enough. So next major intersection. Let's see which way they decided to go. I'm just going to stop and have a quick look on foot around here. Aha. Looks like a big male's joint here, but I don't see the rest of the Pride's tracks. I only see one adult male's tracks. I'm just going to do a little quick shimmy on this side as well. Okay, so there is a lioness track here, but there's a big male track that's joined. I'm going to try to show you that track quickly. And then it is possible that the male might be following the Pride. So there you can see a nice big male lion track. And you can see, when I'm talking about how fresh it is, see how crisp those edges are, and how the sand's a slightly darker color.
Yeah, these are smoking hot.
Yeah. So along we shall continue. One thing I'm thinking, this, it looks like that the Pride might be split from the male. I just want to double check. So if you guys would give me a second or two, I'm just going to cross across to Scotty so I can figure out exactly what's going on with these tracks, and we'll be back with you shortly, hopefully with some lions.
Welcome back to VM and myself. Still no updates, but great news that Brent's found tracks of, I'm guessing, the Nkuhuma Pride, judging from the area where I believe he's working, and I'm sure it won't take him long to track them down. And you have no doubtably seen his excitement. He gets very excited when tracking, as do all of us. And I'm very happy that he's got those tracks. Good prospects for us all. And VM suggested that we head down this road. It's called Ingwe Alley, and it's actually a road that VM and myself kind of opened up. There was two tracks, one heading off Twin Dams Road, the road we just came off, and another heading off Weaver's Nest along a riverbed that flows just in front of us. But the two tracks didn't link up because there was thick vegetation and a lot of logs preventing you from cutting straight through. And VM and myself moved those logs, cleared a pathway, and now it's become a bit more of an established road. And it was actually the first day that we managed to clear the path because we were searching for Nkuhuma, a young male leopard whose tracks were in this area. And we had driven up and down a few times during the drive and had basically given up on finding him, well, at least I had. But VM suggested that we should come back and check just one last time. There was only about 10 minutes of the drive left, and as we turned onto the road, he was sitting up in a marula tree with a duiker kill. So we enjoyed that evening with him, and even went back the following morning to watch him again. Good morning and welcome. Bonnie has asked if we know who the father is of these two young male leopards, Nkuhuma and Quarantine. And I wasn't around when Karula would have mated or given birth to those boys, but I'm told that it was Mvula. She was seen mating with Mvula, who's the dominant male of this area. But it could well have been that she mated with several males. It's not uncommon for a leopardess to mate with several males who are dominant within an area. And that way, it ensures that if any one of those males comes across her cubs, they won't kill them because they'll all believe that they are the father. If they don't feel that way and they come across a leopardess and her cubs, they will kill those cubs in order to release her of that responsibility and therefore allow them to mate with her and get their genes into the system. And in an area like this with a high leopard density, it's not uncommon for male leopards to be the main cause of death to the cubs. As far as we're aware, it's Mvula, but the only way to be certain would be to do DNA testing. Because like I say, leopard and lion will both mate with several males, and that way lower the chances of their cubs being killed. Just got a question through from Jennifer. Quickly. Okay, well, VM was very quick in panning across to these two yellow-billed hornbills. And if we just sit and wait a while, I'm fairly certain they will call again. And it's a really comical display. They hold their wings up above their head as they call. And while I sit and chat to Jennifer about her question, we'll stay on these birds and hopefully they'll let off their call again. So Jennifer mentioned that a couple of months back she remembers seeing two leopards courting. Was that specific incident a couple of months back? So that's an example of a leopardess moving out of her natural territory in order to ensure that she mates with a male leopard that could overlap onto her territory, and that way potentially give the impression that to that male that he is the father of the cubs. But we haven't seen her again, and she's moved back further to the south where she has her territory. Interestingly enough, Karula was trailing about 100 meters behind, and that's something very, very interesting. So something that I haven't seen before with leopards mating. So Karula was just lurking about 100 meters behind, keeping an eye on things, and that's all that happened basically. It would have been interesting if the two lionesses that interfered with the whole event weren't in the picture, because I would have liked to see what Karula would have done, but it ended up being a really exciting scenario where Kwatile and Mvula were chased up a large jackalberry tree close to Twin Dams, and then the lions relaxed again. Karula came down to drink and then headed off in their separate ways. But she may have acted differently if there wasn't a threat of lions in the area. We really are privileged to get the sightings we do of leopard, because there's not many places in Africa where you get such good leopard viewing. And even though they occur throughout the African continent, they are not always relaxed. Judy in Ohio, welcome to this morning's sunrise drive, and thanks for sending through your question. Judy would like to know if there's enough space on Djuma for Quarantine and Nkuhuma to establish their territories, and the answer to that is no. The reason why it shouldn't work like that ever is because you don't want the males to grow up in an area where they could be mating with their mother or their sisters. So Mother Nature would prefer them to move off large distances and that way carry fresh genes into a new area. At the moment they're coming on 2.5 years of age. At any point from now, we could almost expect them to disappear from this property because their father Mvula will chase them off, and then they'll need to continue moving as they become older and wiser and establish a territory of their own. But they're only going to become sexually active at around 5 to 7 years of age as a general rule, and therefore have still got some time before they're going to need to have established their territory, and they could move off hundreds of kilometers from here, which would make more sense simply from a genetic point of view. Now, we are approaching the hyena den site. We're very close by. So within a minute or two, we're going to know whether we're going to have a lucky morning with the hyena. Really interesting stuff. The first time the oldest cub has been seen away from the den was yesterday afternoon with Brent. He had a sighting of Mvula. It's believed to have been Mvula, the large dominant male, on our western boundary. And this relatively young cub was out and about. It's not uncommon for them to start attending scavenging exercises with the older hyena, but it's the first that it's been documented. Wow. The den site appears to be uninhabited this morning, and that's not uncommon. We sometimes arrive here and they're all out and playing, and others, nobody's around. The smaller cubs could still well be down in the burrows where we can't see them, and they'll typically only come out when the adults are around. So maybe the adults are off sitting under a tree looking up at a leopard and an impala kill, for all we know. But I haven't been here for a while and thought it was a good idea to try our luck here. But we shall now continue. In terms of the female leopard tracks, in all likelihood Karula from last night, we have had no further joy, and I've decided to now move into a different area where we could potentially get lucky with another leopard. It could simply be that she's very close to where we had her last tracks with the kill, but it requires time to be able to go off on foot, and while Brent's tracking the lions, it would be impossible to join you in on the experience if I was to jump off the vehicle as well. So we'll move off into a different area, but certainly keep in mind where she was last moving, because that may help us find her later on this morning or this afternoon. Got a question through from Cardinal on Twitter asking, how will leopards remember who they've mated with? I don't know the answer to that question, whether it's scent or sight or simply the territory. I'm not too sure, but possibly a combination of all those factors. Their senses are far greater than ours, and their sense of smell, for example, will allow them to tell who's been moving in an area, and just from scent marks that the various leopards will leave as they move around, they will be able to tell who's who. So simply from smelling a bush, they can tell which leopard scent marked on it. And in terms of once they do come into contact with one another, whether the looks or the smells of certain leopard are the defining factors, I don't know. We would have to ask the leopard in order to find that out. But they certainly do have the ability in knowing who's who. And I guess if you're related to humans, you could just say it comes down to memory, and we know who we've spent time with in the past and what we've done with them in the past, and depending on how much time you spend with any one person or what exactly you do with them, your memory of them will become either better or worse. On Twitter, good morning and welcome. Renee has asked me whether I think the leopard's territories are shrinking in the Kruger National Park, and I certainly don't think they are shrinking, Renee, and I'm interested to know why you've asked that question, because I'm just interested to know why you've asked that question. For me, there's no reason why they would be shrinking. It's been an established ecosystem, and if anything, it's becoming bigger and bigger. Small private game reserves that used to be fenced out of the Kruger, like the Sabi Sands, where we are now, have now dropped fences and are open to the Kruger National Park. So the ecosystem's becoming bigger and bigger, and therefore more natural, which is great for all the animals, because the bigger the ecosystem, the more natural it becomes, and there's no need for human intervention in this reserve in terms of population control. And I think the leopards, especially in this area, have continued to exist as they have many, many years ago. Just to update you, Brent is still trying his best on the lion tracks, so if you have just joined, there's a good chance that there's going to be some lions found. We just need to give Brent a little bit more time to work his magic. But in the meantime, you're stuck with me, and we are hoping for just about anything to show you at this stage. We're not going to be fussy. And that's what I love about the mornings. So much changes overnight, especially with the predominantly nocturnal stars of the show, which are the predators, I guess, the lion and the leopard. Obviously, elephants will also move at night, and a lot of the other animals will move at night, but it's predominantly the predators that move the bigger distances. And every morning we basically wake up with a clean slate and a fresh start. We don't know what we're going to find and where we're going to find it, or if we're actually going to find anything. And that's, for me, what makes this job so exciting. With technology in this day and age, it wouldn't be difficult to have radio transmitters on all of the animals that we would like to see. But it would certainly make our job a lot less interesting and a lot less fun. I know VM is desperate for some leopard action, and so am I, to be honest. So that is what we are hoping for. Nice cool weather today, so good weather for hunting even during the daylight hours. Sandy in Texas, thanks for sending your question through. And Sandy is interested to know whether Karula would fight with her daughter Shadow over territory. I've never personally seen a mother fighting with one of her cubs for territory, but that's not to say that it doesn't happen. I'm almost certain that it will happen. And sometimes younger female leopards' daughters can actually chase their mothers. You could imagine an old female leopard towards the end of her lifespan gives birth to a young and strong and fresh female who can actually oust her from her own territory. So these things happen, and nature is harsh. But that ensures that the best possible candidate for any particular position gets the job. There's no bias or unfairness. It's simply the biggest and or strongest animals will get what they want. And that is critical in nature to ensure that only the strongest genes make it through. I've actually never ever seen leopard fighting, not even once, not male on male, not female on female. It must be an incredible spectacle to witness. And who knows, possibly with the ever-changing dynamics of the leopards in this area, we could expect a fight fairly soon. There's information that we've got from the Arathusa guides. There's a big male leopard, I can't remember his name, but it might come to me, that's pushing, what's Mvula's cousin's name? With a T? Tingana. Sorry, my mind is absolutely nowhere this morning. Thanks, VM. So Tingana is a dominant male to our west, then Mvula is the dominant male over this area. So Mvula and Tingana have neighboring territories, and they will compete with one another. To the west of Tingana is a male, I think they call the Anderson male, it's just come back to me, who's pushing Tingana further to our property, which is going to put increased pressure on Tingana to push Mvula. So there could be a bout between those two males. There has also been just interesting territorial movements of Karula. She seems to be moving further and further afield from her original territory, which would be the core of Djuma. and as she moves further and further afield, she's more likely to bump into another leopardess that may not want that. So let's see what happens, but I think so much happens without us knowing and when we're not out, that even if there has been a monumental clash recently, we may not know anything about it. Okay, well, good news. Brent has got an update for you on the tracks. So I look forward to hearing all about it and enjoy whatever he has in store for you.
Welcome back, everyone. Just a quick update about what we've been up to. We've been following these lion tracks. They've gone into this block to the right here. It looks like a male's joined. We stopped, we listened, I took a little walk into the bush, couldn't hear anything, so the tracks are really nice and fresh. So we're going to do another loop around this a bigger block to make 100% sure that they're in this block before we start sort of bundu bashing straight into the bush, because lions can walk and they can move. So I'm really hoping that they are not too far from the road. It is quite a difficult area they've gone into, lots of small drainage lines and that, but hopefully we can pull them out by their tails. We'll see what happens. We're just going to keep moving around this block, make sure 100% the tracks haven't left the area, and then we'll, if all else fails, we'll go back to last tracks and work from there. Hopefully. David from Michigan. David would like to know, why do lions roar? David, that's a really good question. Well, lions roar particularly for territory, so to sort of let all the other lions know that this is their spot, and if they're going to come here, they're going to get a fight if they come here. So males will defend territories against other males, and a coalition of male lions can sometimes have 3 or 4 different prides of females that fall within their territory. Lionesses, the females, also roar for territory. They have a smaller territory than the males, but they will fight other females that try to come into that territory, even though those other females might form part of the male's territory. They are separate from the females. So it's very much a notification system saying, this is my land, don't come here at your peril. So hopefully they come out into a bit of an easier area to access. That's why we're checking. So quite a lot of tracking. It's very important to not get too stuck on the tracks themselves, and to follow each individual track. Although that is a really fun exercise when you've got lots of time. So quite often what we do a lot of what you would call educated guessing. So the last tracks are coming in this general area. We know this area is looped by certain roads, so we're going to loop the roads, and only then, if we don't find any tracks coming out, would we sort of go back to the last track and then try to follow each individual track on foot. Whereas from a vehicle it can be quite difficult to track. A little bit further away, and well, elephants, so I just need to do some road maintenance. Elephants have been doing some gardening on the road. So a lot of educated guesswork and tracking will save you hours and hours of finding animals. To go go through a drainage line. Occasionally we get a bit of signal break up here, so just bear with me for a few seconds as we cross through the drainage line. Guys, I'm just going to have a quick chat to one of the vehicles out. Morning, morning. How are you guys doing this morning?
Bad. Have you guys managed to find those Singala?
No, we're still looking. The trucks come off Drakensberg at Guaripan Junction into this block here. I had a quick walk around, just double checking that they haven't crossed out.
Yeah.
But I think they're in that block between Guaripan and Central. Unfortunately, it's a
nice and thick
and a big one with lots of drainage lines.
Yeah.
So we're going to make sure that they haven't come out, and then if not, we'll go take a walk, see if we can find them on foot first.
Good luck.
Cool. Enjoy.
Yes.
So guys, while Brian and I keep tracking, we're going to go across to Scott. He's got something interesting for you guys, and hopefully when we get back, we'll have some kitty cats.
Welcome back, and we've hit the jackpot here. The hyena have moved back to their old den sites, and this is really wonderful. VM actually spotted a Battalier eagle in a tree nearby and suggested we come and have a look, and it's paid off, because for those of you who have just joined, we were at the other hyena den site earlier where they used to be, and this one's coming quite close to say good morning. Hello. Ah, what would you like from us? If you look closely, you'll see it has a few ticks on its eyelashes, and it's quite a common place to find ticks on predators. It's got one on each eye. It must be really annoying, but you don't get a much closer shot than this of hyena, so I hope you're enjoying it. This one's still a youngster, and you can tell it's in good condition. It doesn't have many scars or scratches or notches out of its ears. And it really is fascinating how they can be so habituated with our vehicles and with us, and to allow us into their home like this and be so relaxed with us is a testament to good guiding practice that's been happening for many, many years in this reserve, and it's taught animals to not be scared of us, especially in the vehicles, and allow us some insights into their lives. You'll notice that that individual's got a full belly, so it's been a successful night, and who knows where it would have got its food from. It's one animal that I'd love to be able to talk to, because they cover such great distances and often put themselves in dangerous scenarios with other predators when they may be trying to steal their kills. It's been wonderful to watch these little cubs grow. The one you can see walking away is one of the two smaller cubs, So there's 2 cubs from the same litter, and then one that's slightly larger and older. But they really do metamorphosize in terms of their appearance in the first few months of their life. They start off as completely black, almost very dark brown balls of fur, and around 3 months of age they begin to develop the spots that you can now see on them. This is another relatively young adult, and you can tell this by the fact that its spots are very defined and dark, and its coat is very pretty. So this, you could say, is a sub-adult. If it would open its mouth, we would also notice that its teeth are white and still in perfect working order. The mother, who's lying at the base of the den, who we'll show you shortly so that you can compare, does not look anything like the one we're looking at now. You'll notice now how the spots are not nearly as dark and prominent, and the coat is almost thinned, and there's not nearly as much blonde hair on their body. Her face and teeth will also tell a story. If we were a little bit closer, and if we did see her open her mouth, they'll be more yellow and worn down from crunching through many bones and carcasses. They are highly specialized in feeding on bone matter, and their jaws, as well as their digestive system, can handle bones that leopards and lions cannot. And that's what makes them so important. Their role in this ecosystem is critical, and without them there would be a massive gap in the nutrient cycle. And I feel it's simply a lot of bad publicity that have got people thinking that a hyena are kind of the villains of the African wilderness. They certainly aren't. And something that's important to understand is that even though they've been painted as the stealing scavengers, lion and leopard and wild dog will all steal from one another, depending on who is the strongest and how many numbers are available. All predators will steal. Male lion will steal from female lion, male leopard from female leopard. And depending on, again, the numbers, wild dog will steal from leopard where they get the chance. They'll even steal from hyena. And research has been done in various areas where lions steal more from hyena than hyena from lion. And again, that just comes down to size and strength, and size and strength is what matters out here. And whoever's the biggest and the strongest get what they want. It's that simple. Now, where have all the other hyena gone? We've still got one lying down next to us here, but the cubs seem to have all disappeared. Hopefully they'll come running back. They quite often come up to the vehicle to say good morning with their inquisitive little natures. Something that we haven't really touched on is the fact that they've moved den sites. Now, it's not uncommon for hyena to move den sites, and they can often have several as well as excrement. And now this den site that they've left abandoned would have become clean. All the decomposers would have come and cleaned out the den site. The parasites would have left because there would have been no hosts for them to bother. And now the hyena come back to a fresh home. Now, I've just seen 2 of the cubs arrive back at the base of the burrow, and it looks like they've got a bone that's been brought back to the den site. It looks relatively new, and it looks like quite a big bone. Possibly a femur, but I can't see very much of it, but they are chewing on it. And that would explain why the adults have got full bellies. The cubs will feed on meat and bones from this age, but they do rely on milk for a very long period of time relative to other predators. They can nurse for up to a year and sometimes even longer than that. Oh, that looks like a zebra. No, maybe not. No, that looks like a kudu. I'm battling. I got my binoculars up a little bit late, but I think that could be the remains of a kudu, and that would explain why the bateleur eagle was here. So very well done to Wiem for spotting that bateleur eagle. It was a long way off from the road, and bateleur eagles are renowned for eating carrion. They can hunt for themselves, but they do often help us to locate carcasses, and this is no different. Yeah, that is certainly a kudu, and I wonder where they brought this from, because it's unlikely that they would have killed the kudu. It's not to say that they can't, and they didn't, but I'm guessing they may have stolen this from a leopard or lion, as that's predominantly what happens with the hyena in this area of South Africa, or Africa. Because there is a high leopard density, they can afford to focus on stealing from them rather than hunting from themselves. That's not to say that they don't hunt here, but they are less inclined to do it than in other areas of Africa. These 2 cubs look to be the siblings from the same litter. I'm hoping the larger cub, who's probably a month or so older than them, pops into the scene, and all 3 of them can start revving one another up and playing around. Wow, look at this. Awesome. Well, the cub's toy's been taken away by one of the sub-adults.
What is the one that look?
Sorry, Andrew, please go again with what's going on there.
Ingwe, a young Ingwe. I touch with.
Okay, copy, thanks. Just to let you know, the Misikai is now back at the old den sites off Rebecca's.
Okay, thanks so much, Scott.
I'm going to try and move us into position quickly and see if we can't see what's going on. I can hear a bit of whooping and excitement, and those cubs seem to have chased down that sub-adult. And let's see what they're up to. sure where the cubs have gone, but the individual that's carrying off this kudu's leg is over here. And that is greed. Look at your stomach already. It's about to pop. And now it's stolen the young cub's entertainment for the morning. What hyena often do with bones that are too difficult for them to crack into is they put them in puddles of water, which help them to break down over time, and it's almost like a pantry where they can store bones and leftovers for harder times. And it really does make for hilarious viewing. I'm over here on the left. It really does make for hilarious viewing when you do see them swimming and putting their head underwater looking for the remains of kills that they've stashed. The young cubs have come and they're now watching, trying to establish where their toy has gone. Well, I think that's the end of your kudu leg for this morning, sadly, youngsters. Bulleret, good morning, and thanks for sending your question through. Bulleret is asking whether this is the same den site where Stefan was sitting just 2 or 3 days ago, and it certainly is. We were right here chatting about this den site when it was still inactive, where they was probably only moved here last night, I'm guessing. None of us checked whether the den site was active yesterday, so it could have been the night before, but it has been very, very recently that they moved here. And they're now sniffing about for something else to chew on, it looks like. It's good practice for them. They're going to be following the scent trail now of where that other hyena dragged the kudu leg. And this is imperative training for them, because this is how they're going to track down their food in the future. Their noses are probably their most powerful sensory organ when it comes to finding kills. And they can smell meat from many miles away, provided that the wind's blowing in the right direction. And this individual here that VM's heading back to is now on the trail of the missing kudu leg. Okay, we've got a question through from Georgianne in Illinois, and Georgianne's interested to know whether this could possibly be the kudu that quarantine caught on the 6th of May, and it could, Georgianne, but I'm inclined to think that it's not. The reason being is that was about a week ago, and the hyena would have taken that remains back to the other den sites. So it is something I have thoughts of, and I'm not sure, but I'm inclined to think that that leg from that specific kudu a week ago wouldn't really be in the mix now. I think that's from a more fresh kill, but I could well be wrong. It's a good question though, and it is something I've thought about, but I can't be certain as to what the answer is. What would be nice to know is whether quarantine managed to catch another kudu, which would be quite remarkable, because it's a big prey item to take down for a leopard. and judging by their full bellies, Georgianne, I think they are full of kudu as we speak. The fact that there's not just one but several of them very full-bellied, and the fact that there's that leg over here that still has nutritional value. That's why the other hyena took it away from these cubs. It feels like it can still get a little bit of food out of that. Means that that is from a fresh kudu. A week ago, these hyena would have consumed and done whatever they would want to have done with that kudu leg by now. Where did you guys find this kudu? Cute. And the cub taking some time to look after its mother, as well as use her leg as a pillow. Travis in Brisbane, good morning, and I hope you're enjoying the hyena den site this morning. Travis is interested to know if and when hyena do hunt, and in areas where they are more likely to hunt, what is the biggest prey that they can take down? It's a good question, Travis, and a lot will depend on the individual clan and the prey items available to them. But I have seen footage of hyena taking down one of the most formidable prey items that you get in this area, the Cape buffalo. So clans of hyena in some areas can be 30 to 40 animals strong, and that's a serious force to be reckoned with, and with that many hyena, they can take down even buffalo. In parts of Kenya and Tanzania, where the migration takes place with many wildebeest and zebra, they also specialize in taking down wildebeest and zebra. So those are also big prey items that can be run down by the hyena. The only documented kill that I know of in this area of hyenas making a kill is an impala that they caught in Gari Dam, and that was footage that was captured on the waterhole camera. And for those of you who don't know, we've got a 24-hour live surveillance on the Djuma waterhole. So whenever we're not on safari, you can still be keeping an eye on what's going on. And it was on that camera late one night that a hyena chased an impala into the dam. It swam around, the hyena continued to circle the dam, and eventually the impala tried to get out and the hyena grabbed it, and that was that. They're not the stealthiest of predators, but their endurance allows them to run prey down until the prey becomes fatigued and makes the wrong move, and that's when their bone-crushing jaws come into play. No, something that's quite interesting is that the oldest of the small cubs was seen at a kill yesterday, and the kill was in the area of a male leopard. Now, it's obviously dangerous for cubs to be heading into these hot zones where they could be coming up against lion or leopard. And the fact that there's been no sign of it this morning is obviously a bit of a concern. That's not to say it's not here or not elsewhere. It could be back at the other den sites, and maybe only half of the hyena have moved in here and the other half are still debating what to do. These strange things do happen in nature, and We are just going to have to monitor it closely, but at this stage we do not know where the oldest of the two cubs is. What we can see here, though, is some fierce competition between the cubs, and they will compete fiercely for nursing. But it appears that the mother is not interested in allowing them to nurse, or it certainly wasn't initially. Although now she seems to be giving in. And the one cub is obviously slightly low down in the hierarchy, because it's just lying there watching its brother or sister drink. Okay, it's coming in, the second one, so let's see what happens here. There may be a bit more fighting and tussling. Or are they all going to relax and... Look at the mother, she's completely... That's hilarious. She was scratching her back there for a second. She was completely lying flat on her back. She can't seem to make up her mind. Possibly it's the discomfort from her bulging belly that's filled with kudu that's preventing her from getting comfortable in a nursing position. Probably doesn't help having two cubs jumping on her stomach either. So, some of the viewers are asking whether the kudu leg was the remains from an animal that died of natural causes that we found 2 days ago. And just to clarify to everyone, it wasn't a kudu that died of natural causes. It was the cousin of the kudu, a bushbuck, which is considerably smaller than a kudu, but part of the same spiral-horned antelope family. In this area we have the bushbuck, the inyala, and the kudu. And the bushbuck's legs would have been gobbled up. They're a lot thinner and easier to crunch through for hyenas. But just to let you guys know, it wasn't the same animal that we found that had died of natural causes. Well, I think we've had a great sighting here at the hyena den site, but I'm getting tempted to move on and see what else is out there. There's lots of other characters that we can have a look at out here. And I think we've had some great action seeing the sub-adult take away the kudu leg from the youngsters. And you can hear them now chittering and chattering, trying to get a good spot for nursing, but as soon as they do get comfortable, all we're going to be seeing is sleeping hyena slowly suckling on their mother's milk. So it's not going to be highly entertaining, and I think we should go and have a look and see what else is out there. An update on Brent. He has been trying his best to find these lion, and he's been spending a lot of time on foot. Go ahead, Andrew. I'm going to try and get an update from Brent. He's still following up on them, but I don't know exactly where the tracks are heading towards. Can you get an update for me? It's a very thick area kilometers in and around Buffelshoek Dam, so if the lions have moved off the road, it can be slow going, trying to establish where they are, because it's very thick. It means there's lots of hiding places and easy to not see them. But it also means Brent will have to move cautiously, with the concern of bumping into other threats, not just the lion, but buffalo or elephants. Got a question through from a fellow South African called Spusiso. Good morning, Spusiso, and welcome on board. Spusiso's interested to know and clarify. He's heard that hyena are actually more closely related to cats, and that's correct. But they're not in the cat family, and they're not in the dog family. So they've fitted into their own family, called the Hyenidae family, and then you get Canidae for the dogs and Felidae for the cats. So you are 100% correct, Spoo, and it is quite remarkable because when you look at hyena, you would immediately associate them to be more dog-like than cat-like, but there's obviously various parts of the internal anatomy that are similar to a cat and not to a dog. Very, very unique animal that has essentially come up with its own family, which is very unique. Could you ask Brent to either give you the location of the last track so I can update the GoDrive channel, or he can do it? This is working. Well, folks, the good news is Brent is going to have an update for you on those tracks. He's back on the vehicle, so we'll catch up with you a little bit later.
Welcome back, everyone. As you can see, the sun's out a little bit. No such luck with these lines just yet. So I'm pretty confident they're in this block behind me over my shoulder here. It looks like they chased something. From what I can see, it looks like a giraffe. There's lots of tracks going all sorts of different directions. So I actually did a long walk, try to see if I could find any tracks on the block. Unfortunately not. It's quite thick in there, lots of small drainage lines and Tambweti thickets. But probably, I don't know, early this morning, 5:30, I guess. Hoping that now might have moved out of the block again, but we've circled this block 3 times now, and I've walked through 2 different areas, but still no luck. But I'm very confident they're still in this area, so we're going to do one last little check around. Otherwise, I think after breakfast I'll come see if I can track them properly and take some time. But till then, we have not given up. So the last tracks we had in an area called the junction of Gorry Pan Road and Hippo Pools Road, and they've gone almost due west, the last track I can find, into the block between Drakensberger and Central and Gorry Pan Road. I'm just hoping they move out at some point. So there has been enough time for them to do some moving. So we're just going to keep checking slowly. Where did you see that other track, Brian? A little bit further up. And it's so possible they could be lying just out of sight, fat bellies on their backs. I don't think they caught whatever they were chasing. We would have definitely heard sort of, even if you don't hear them fighting like they would on a small kill, we would hear bone crunching and chewing, which we haven't heard. Terry from Santa Ana, welcome on the Sunrise Safari. Terry would like to know, are female lions ever pushed out of the pride, and what would be the reasons? Terry, when female lions decide to move the pride, there are a couple of reasons. Sometimes the pride gets too big. So in certain areas where you can get a pride of 30 or 40 lions, they have to kill a lot of large animals to sustain that pride. So they will splinter into a smaller group off the main pride, that's more common in unusual circumstances, especially with there's sort of new coalition members taking over. Sometimes you'll find a female and her sub-adults will splinter off and move out of the area of the pride and sort of live on the peripheries. That is more unusual. Generally, it's when the prides get too big that they will split into a different pride, two prides. If they do meet, for the first while, it's not too aggressive. But sometimes, as the time apart and those relationships between the pride members start to be put under pressure, sort of a year or so, they might even fight. They've now sort of completely become separate prides. But that's not always. Most of the time, even if it's a split off the original pride, they will sort of not be the best of friends, but they will still have a sort of mutual understanding, and they won't fight, and they might share carcasses from time to time. So there's a single lion track going this way, which is very strange. So it looks like a lioness. Standing by.
Would you like me to check? I want to call the place now.
It's got there's tracks of it all over the place at the moment. I've now got a single track heading south on Drakensberger, where the rest of the tracks headed west. I'm going to follow the single track for now, but I have no idea where these lines have gone at the moment. me for a second. I'm just checking this road very carefully. I think that track might have been just sort of playing around where they stepped at that junction before moving back to join the rest of the Pride, but we will definitely double and triple check. Looks like it's going to be a beautiful sunny day after a cold and overcast start. Clouds are disappearing quite nicely. Just wanted to check a little bit down here, make sure it didn't come this way. But for this afternoon, there's a very good chance, as it gets a little bit cooler, that those lines might move towards Buffelshoek Dam. That's the closest water to where we last had tracks. Good morning, Natalie from California. Welcome on Sunrise Safari. Natalie says she's noticed that the grass height is very different depending on where you're driving. Natalie, there's a combination of things that causes that. A lot of it's to do with grass type, and seep lines where water moves through the soil. So you'll notice we're coming out to a much more open area now on the left, where there's a different type of grass generally on the seep line, and certain grasses are tastier than others. So you'll see where the tasty grasses are, there's sort of shorter areas. This is on the edge of a seep line, so the reason I'm showing you here, it's much nicer and easier to show. So we can check that there's different heights of grass and sage and things in these areas, and that's from animals grazing. So certain grass species are sweeter, higher in starch. Just sorry guys, 1 second. Just stand by one. And there are areas that have been maintained by humans, and that's where in the past we have accidentally, through not knowing any better and bad management practices, possibly changed the system. So now there's a sort of program to rectify it and put it back to what it should be. But 90% of the area where the grass height differences is from different grass species and different grazing levels by the different herbivores or grazers. I've done hippo pools, Quarry Pan, and Central Round, Nyala Road North. I came in from Buffelshoek. I've also done Buffelshoek cut line, Cheetah cut line, and I've not checked. I think I've checked all the roads in this general area. I'm checking Drakensberg a little bit further to the south now, but I think I might loop back towards Buffelshoek Dam a little bit later. But if you'd like to go check in that area, you're more than welcome to. Copy, thanks. Copy, thanks, Andrew. So guys, for those of you who might have joined us a bit late this morning, or we might be possibly a new viewer, I'm just going to give you a little recap of what we've been up to this morning. I heard a report of lions near our northern boundary, so I feel like I haven't seen lions in an age. So I hopped onto the boundary, we checked the northern boundary, there was nothing. We came along our eastern boundary and we found tracks of a pride. Difficult to say which pride, but just generally from where the Nkuhuma Pride was left to the north of us yesterday and the lion's territory, I'm pretty certain this is more than likely the Nkuhuma Pride. So we followed the tracks, they were nice and fresh. We got to an area where they've chased something. I think it looks like a giraffe. And so the tracks become quite difficult to follow in that area. And we've checked the block around a couple of times. And we haven't found anything. Just sorry guys, I'll be with you in a second. Sorry, go again please, Andrew.
Getting in the with the rest
Okay, copy. I'm going to be making my way. I'm on Cheetah Cut Line Junction with Mamba at the moment. So guys, what happens is that when we're tracking animals like this, sorry, I just picked up a branch that we work as a team. So I just need to listen to the radio for a bit. You're going to have to bear with me. I'm going to go a bit quickly for a couple of minutes. Andrew, what's my best access? If I'm coming from Cheetah Cut Line, confirm it would be Hippo Pools Road. Thanks very much, Andrew. Sneaky lions! They've crossed right behind us over the top of our tracks at Buffelshoek Dam, where we've just been checking. So Andrew's found them. So we're going to shoot there as quick as possible, see and have a look at them. Yay! So as I was explaining, so when we do track animals, let's make sure. When we do track animals, so Andrew's been in the area giving us a hand. Scott was also, so we're checking as many roads as possible simultaneously, which increases our chances for finding. So it's very much a team effort when it comes to finding animals. So this is where we first found their tracks. So I'm going to go a bit faster than normal so we can get to the lions as soon as possible. If anyone's got a few questions before we get to the lions, this might be a nice time while I'm just driving to send them in. For those of you who might be new, you can email me questions using the email address questions@wildearth.tv, or if you're on Twitter, you can just use the hashtag #SafariLive. Brian, lions! Happy days! I feel like I haven't seen lions in an absolute age. And it's a beautiful morning, still nice and cool, nice lights coming out. Oh, it's nice when a good plan comes together. So as I was saying before Andrew called to say it found them, I was saying, well, it's a very strong possibility that they're going to head towards Buffelshoek Dam because it's the closest water, and we were going to do one last loop in that area, but lucky for us, Andrew's done the hard work for us this morning. Faye from Canada. Faye would like to know, are there many duikers and steenboks in the Djuma area? Yes, there are, Faye. We see them quite regularly. Unfortunately, with a lot of those smaller antelope species that are quite heavily predated by things like leopards and wild dog, even when we stop to try get the camera on them, they disappear quite sharply. So yes, there are quite a few, and we do see them often, but it is difficult to get a nice clear shot of one. And there's a hippo that wasn't here 10 minutes ago. Andrew, confirm which direction I should come. I'm on the northeastern side of the dam. Negative, I've come into the Shkova on the eastern side.
You gotta be on the behind the dam wall, just by the end of the dam wall there, just in your normal there. You just have to come, you come along that road.
Copy, I'll be there in 30 seconds. So we've arrived at the dam. I'm just trying to find where Andrew is now. Should be able to see him from somewhere around here. So I think when I last heard is that those lions try to copy on the eastern or western side of the dam.
From where you are, coming in.
But confirm on the eastern road that comes into the dam or the western road?
Coming along that road, leading north from that southern end of the dam wall.
Copy. On the side that Hippo Pools Road joins with?
Brent. So, I would say as you go to the boundary.
Hey, firm? Okay, just trying to figure out where it is. Oh, hold on. Bounce, bounce. Guys, we're just going to go through a little bit of a bad signal spot as we go through this drainage line, but we'll pop out on the other side in a matter of seconds. So we should be with these lines in about 30 seconds. And we have found them. So it's amazing that literally we were here 15 minutes ago and they've walked on top of our vehicle tracks. Is the motor going to pull up?
Yeah, already some of them went down to the market. Thought maybe you bumped on them on the road.
Okay, copy. I think I'm also going to join you down at the mighty. So we can have a look through there. There's some of the lines there, but there's other lines that have moved down to the dam to drink. So I think we're going to try get in a position to see the lines drinking. We're going to come back to where they are here shortly. We're just going to go see them drink quickly because that looks like a few of them are going to move down towards the water. Morning, Andrew. Thank you very much for. Yeah, they've been clipping me. See them on top of my tracks there.
Yeah. But I'm not sure if they find it dead or they killed it. I don't know.
Okay.
So, but the thing is, they're feeding on it.
Yeah. Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you.
So, guys, I'm just gonna, from what I've just heard from Andrew, they're feeding on a hippo carcass. Looks like a small one. I'm just gonna have a very quick look, and then we're gonna shoot down to the ones drinking. So it looks like most of the pride are drinking. There's only 2 lionesses here. So such beautiful light. It's going to be really nice to see them on the water. But we will definitely come right back here once we've finished watching them drinking. It looks like quite a young hippo. Difficult to say whether they killed it or found it. But either is a happy day for a lion. Lions are quite lazy. If they can find a dead hippo, it's far better than having to catch one. Which is also good news for us. We should have lions for a day or 2 at least. Young males down here at the water. So the others are on their way down. but the sun's in a bit of a bad spot for us, so I'm just gonna squeak. I don't want him to move. Just gonna move around to the other side of him so we get the light in the right place. Good morning, Christine from New Jersey. Welcome on Sunrise Safari with us this morning. Christine would like to know how many lions are in this pride and are there any cubs. Christine, at the moment there are no cubs as far as I'm aware. There are 8, used to be 8 lions in the Nkuhuma Pride. This is the young male we just saw there at the water's edge. But it looks like he's on his way back to the buffalo carcass now. Hippo carcass. Thank you, Brian. So we're going to have lots of fat lions around, sleeping under bushes. They are quite spread out, so I'm not sure whether the whole pride is here. Sometimes the prides do get split. So, looks like everyone is quite full. Just going to see where she stops to feed again. So we've only seen 4 out of a possible 8 lions so far. None of them have young cubs at the moment. There are some sub-adults that are just over a year old. Copy. Thanks very much, Andrew. This is very, very fresh. Probably early hours of this morning. As I said, it's quite difficult to know whether the hippos died of natural causes or they've killed it. It's quite a strong possibility that they might have killed a young hippo of that size. Difficult to see exactly how old it is, but probably it's a sub-adult hippo. And you can actually see the big, thick layer of subcutaneous fat that a hippo has. We'll have a look at that a bit closely just a little bit later. Now, this is a wonderful, wonderful meal for lions. You can see this probably happened early this morning, just judging from all the scuff marks around. And just from the amount of scuff marks, I would say they probably did kill it themselves. And the fight that would ensued when they first started eating would have been quite a sight. Probably going to move this carcass at some point in the day. It is quite open in the sun. I'd drag it into some shade. There are the rest of the sleeping cats. You can barely see them sleeping in the shade to the right of the carcass. I'm just suddenly looking around, trying to figure out where the rest of the pride was. And you can barely see them sleeping under a bush. Looks like she's opening up the stomach there, so eating the stomach lining, just like we would eat tripe, except we prefer ours a bit cooked.
And less stomach contents.
And less stomach contents present at the same time, yes. But you can see from the inside of the cavity they've eaten all the sort of good stuff already. Heart, liver, kidneys, all the things that have quite a lot of minerals in it. There's still quite a lot of meat on here. So it's possible that that hippo that we saw in the dam that just arrived, that wasn't there earlier when we came through, could be this hippo's mother. I didn't have a close look at it. I didn't see whether it was a male or female. But if it was its mother, it would have definitely tried to defend a calf of this size against predators. But there are 8 lions, so it can be quite difficult being a mother out here in the bush. So guys, if you guys hear that clicking, it's just me taking a few photographs, so don't worry if you find the noise. Morning, Virginia. Virginia is asking, do they eat the fat too? Most definitely, Virginia. For a lion, a big fatty animal, especially like a hippo, that fat is very nutritious. There we go. She's actually going for a nice big piece of white fat there. You can see it pulling the fat out. And the hippo fat is quite in a lot of cultures, African cultures in the past, was a very sought after commodity. So hippo fat was used to make soap, candles, also used on wounds, or actually even as a beautification product. So if you wipe all the hippo fat on and make your skin really nice and shiny, like we do with tanning oil, I suppose. But it is quite and that was happening up until 100 years ago at least, and in certain parts of Africa I'm sure it still does happen, where hippo fat is quite a highly sought after commodity. And see how strong that lion is. I mean, there's still probably 500 pounds or so weight, 600 pounds even, when we try to do my conversions. Yeah, about 600 pounds of weight still there. And you see she moves that whole carcass when she pulls. She's using her paw there to move some of the stomach contents out of the way. So basically that stomach contents there is just undigested grasses. And see how she turns her head to the side when she's got to get through that thick skin of the hippo? Oh, she looks like she might be wanting to move it. Look at the power of that. Oh, disappearing lion. Let me just move the vehicle quickly so we can see what's going on. Oh, hang on a second. The hippos, whether it was killed by the lions, I've got a feeling it was. So what she's going to do now is she's going to try bury that stomach content, that undigested grass, and that is an attempt to try and mask the smell, to keep the hyenas from finding it. Although I think hyenas have got such a good sense of smell that it might be a bit of a waste of time. It'd be quite interesting to see if the hyenas do come here this evening, because I'm definitely going to be back here to see what happens later on. I'm trying to see on the back of that hippo whether we can see whether it's got claw marks from being jumped on by lions, or we can see a noticeable wound that might have been caused by another hippo. I'm just using my camera to get a closer look at certain things. So, I mean, they've been eating for a while, and you can see they're not that full yet. So it tells us this carcass is very fresh. And you see that other lioness who's just arrived. She's still got quite a bit of blood on her face, so she's back for round 2. So really trying to mask the smell, cover the stomach content. That one thing that makes me possibly doubt it was lions is if we... Oh, let's just watch her berry. Stomach content. Now, leopards do this as well. A lot of cats will try mask the smell of where they've made a kill and cover up the stomach content. Might even get some help. There we go. Teamwork, girls. You can see, not designed for digging, not the most effective when it comes to scratching around sand. Now you see where that second lioness is sniffing there. I can't really see too well what that hole is, but that is one thing that might make me think it might not be lions and it might be an injury from another hippo. But I will have a closer look when the ladies allow me the opportunity to. Oh, there's such amazingly beautiful animals. The muscle definition is incredible. Now, this is quite an open area where they've killed this hippo, so there's a strong possibility that the vultures might descend at some point during the day. But I think they might drag this hippo into a slightly thicker area where it's going to be harder for the vultures to see it. But even here, just being so open in this general area, it might not work. So now she's covering up some of the blood spots from when it would have opened up the carcass first. Again, trying to mask the smell. So guys, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to send them in. You can do that by emailing us on questions@wildearth.tv, or if you're on Twitter, you can just use the hashtag SafariLive. It's a very strange one to put your foot between two trees and then try to pull the sand through. Good morning, Rome and Tanda. Rome and Tanda are asking, how would a lion bring down a hippo? Would they strangle it? Panda, sorry. Rome and Panda. Basically like they would any other animal. A hippo this size would be easier to strangle. A bigger hippo, not so much. Even with this, they probably would bite and wait for blood loss to take effect. The animal's too weak to defend itself. What happens quite often when lions do kill large prey is that it is not a very, if you're very sensitive, it's not a very nice thing to watch, because quite often they'll start feeding while those animals are still alive. Oh, they're really, really trying to master the smell today. Welcome back, Virginia. Virginia is like, would like to know, because lions, or the hippo, sorry, doesn't have any fur, would the lions eat the skin? They would if they were very hungry, but quite often they will eat pieces of the skin and then leave the skin. It is still quite tough and rough, and probably not the most appetizing. But I've seen lions that are very hungry. They definitely would eat the skin. Okay, well, I think the ladies are going to head down to drink, so I think we'll go try get there to the water before them, and then we'll come back and inspect the carcass while the lions are lying up further from it, to see if we can figure out whether it's a natural death, or sorry, a non-lion death that could not be killed by another hippo, or maybe it was in bad condition. But judging from the amount of subcutaneous fats and stuff we could see, I don't think that the hippo was in particularly poor condition. So now we just need to see whether it was another hippo that might have done the damage, or it was the lions. My suspicion at the moment, but I'm not 100% sure until I've been there a bit, I had a bit of a closer look, is that it was actually the lions and not another hippo. Oh, lion jam. Just gonna give me a second, guys. I'm gonna try shoot around to get to the lions drinking. We might drop signal for a tiny second as I drop into the drainage line, but it'll be worth it once we get around and have a wonderful view of those girls having a drink. Lights on the right side as well. Just enjoy this for a few seconds. You can definitely see two different ages here. I was talking about the sub-adult, who's just over a year old now. That's the lioness on the right. The one on the left is an adult. The adult females in this pride range from about, as far as I understand, from about 5 to 8 years old, from what I've been told by the other guides. You'll notice how they're drinking in a very small little area. rather than out the main edge of the dam. Lion and leopard, you'll notice, do that very often. And the reason for this is it'd be very difficult for a crocodile to grab a lion from there, but if they were drinking at one of the other parts of the dam, it would be much easier for that for a crocodile if it wanted to feed off there or try catch a lion. Okay, so drink's over. Looks like they're going to go sleep in the shade, a little bit away from the carcass. Some allo grooming, quite important, as I said, for lions to maintain those bonds between the pride members. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down here next to the dam, which means there must be 3 still lying up around the carcass. So we got the young male, one of the little sub-adults, and looks like 3 adult females. And it definitely looks like the young male's eaten more than anyone else. And you just look at his general, oh, I'm so full, it's hot, heavy breathing. Also the size of his belly. And because even though he is young, he is physically already much larger than his mothers and aunts, so he will take the lion's share of a carcass, and especially in the beginning he will beat up everyone else because he's bigger, enabling him to get more food. But if you're a lion, you're in a pretty good spot at the moment. Got water right here, got meat just up the hill. Happy days. No adult male with them, even though we did have adult male tracks this morning. But if there is an adult male around, he heard, if they caught that and they heard, oh, there we go. Well, we got a fright. So fast asleep. What happened? If they heard the pride taking down that hippo, they'll definitely be on their way into this area to get their share. And we'll go have a look. Let's just sit and watch this female grooming the sub-adult for a bit, then we'll go have a look at the carcass again. Good morning, Blair from New Zealand. Welcome on the Sunrise Safari. Blair would like to know, if they did kill the hippo, how much of a role would this young male have played? I think he would have played a decent sized role. He is that much bigger and heavier than the lionesses, so he might have definitely played a role. At this age, with bigger prey species, he will definitely, with things like buffalo and hippo and giraffe, he will definitely start playing a bigger hunting role. hippo is a really nice meal for a pride of lions. So everyone's very happy today. Good morning, David from Michigan. David saying from where we found them now, we must have driven past them earlier. Why are there no alarm calls from squirrels and birds? David probably because there aren't any squirrels or birds in that area, and at that specific time. But if a squirrel or bird was close by and saw them, would definitely alarm call. It's possible they've been here for an hour or two, so they've already been alarm called at and the other animals have moved away. Oh, that sub-adult looks like it's very much enjoying the groom. Very much enjoying that. Very important in terms of keeping the bonds of the pride strong, especially because of the way lions feed. When they do get food, they literally go at each other like you have no idea. It's each for their own, fighting, biting, scratching. So after those moments of madness, to keep the pride bond strong, there'll be a lot of this grooming. There's no stress now. They don't have to worry about finding food. They've got food. They're next to water. So there'd be probably more grooming than you would normally get if they were hungry. See how she watches the sky every now and then to look, make sure, checking for vultures. You'll notice lions and leopards do that often. They'll check to the sky, make sure that there's no vulture flying in. They're not very big fans of vultures, but I'm pretty sure vultures are going to find that carcass eventually, sometime today. Okay, well, so should we go have a quick look at that? The actual hippo carcass, see if we can work out whether it was them or possibly another hippo. Good morning, Jerry from Maryland. Welcome on the Sunrise Safari. It's very difficult to be 100% sure that that's the mother, but it is a hippopotamus lying right opposite where the lions are, in the same area as that carcass. But it's difficult to see whether that is a female or a young male. And that hippo wasn't in the dam when we came through earlier, so it is quite difficult to predict. Anyway, let's go look at that hippo carcass. Fat cats. lines spread through the bush, heading back towards the carcass. So we know we've got 3 down there. There's a 4th one lying here in the shade. Found some nice shade there. Lying up still close to the carcass, but a little bit further away. So that's number 4. Oops, sorry, Brian. And now we're going to have a look at the carcass and also check if we can see the rest of the pride. So, nice to see the Nkuhumas again. They are the pride of lions we probably see the most of, although they have seemed to have been avoiding us for a while. But so really nice to have them back. Let's check, is anyone actually at the carcass? No lions at the carcass, so we can go a little bit closer to have a look to see if we can figure out what exactly happened. And there are the other 3 lions. There's a shot there. Do I need to turn a bit wider?
No, you turn a bit.
Turn a bit wider. How's that look? There we go. So you can see what we're looking at there is where the ears would have been. That would have been one of the first things. And if you go further down on its nose, I'm seeing quite a few scratches and things like that. But with a hippo's skin being so thick, and there are just normally a lot of scratches on a hippo's skin, the fact that makes me think it was the lions. If you go, there we go, that sort of bottom of the shot there's some scratches there, and the blood is coagulated in it. So that probably means that the animal was alive when those scratches were made, which leads me to sort of think that this hippo was killed by the pride of lions. So still lots of meat left. Still a young hippo, but it's still a lot of meat. You can actually have a proper look at a hippo's foot, which is not something you get to do quite often. And you see it there. Let me go back a little bit. The one behind the head is going to be the best. There. So there we go. You can see 4 toes. So you can see a very, very distinct shape of the hippo's foot. And hippo's tracks are very distinct with those 4 toes when we do see them when we're moving around. Also, you can see a little bit, not so much here, but how thick a hippo's skin is. And an adult hippo can be as thick as sort of 5-6 centimeters, maybe even a bit more than that. So there's a very thick layer of skin, but the main thickness is caused by the subcutaneous fat layer. But it's going to be some very happy lions. This will probably last them until tomorrow afternoon, just judging about how much they've fed on and how much meat is left. But that's if the hyenas don't come and start mobbing them. There's no male lion here, and we do have quite a nice large hyena population on Djuma, so they could get enough support to sort of really give these lions a hard time around this carcass. Okay, guys. While we're gonna sit here, we're gonna stay in this area, see what's going. We're just gonna cross across to Scotty quickly to hear what he's been up to, and then we'll come back here and see what the lions are doing. I don't think they're gonna be doing too much with those big fat bellies, but anyway, it's always great to look at lions, even when they are full and fat and sleeping. A lion is still an incredible animal. So enjoy whatever Scotty's got for you.
Welcome back, everyone, and well done to Brent on tracking down those lion for all of you. How bizarre, it's not often that lion in this area catch hippos, so a really unique experience for all of you to share with Brent, and good prospects because I'm sure those lion will still be there for a while. It sounds like there's still a lot of meat to feed on, so good news for lion viewing over the next couple of days. We continued searching for Karula's footprints and managed to find where we lost the last tracks. She crossed a riverbed and then continued very close to where Brent was following up on tracks of the lion. In that area, I can't establish where she has headed to, but she was only about 100 meters or so from our eastern boundary and could well have crossed into the eastern property next door to us. Anyway, we will follow up this afternoon, and at least we've got a better idea of where she's ended up. Anyway, a big thank you from myself as well as VM and everyone in Final Control. Thanks for following, and we'll see you this afternoon. Back to Brent with the lions and the hippo.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm just gonna head back down to those other lions that are lying next to the dam. Nice and out in the open. They're doing a bit of grooming. So a bit better than looking at the three fat cats we've got here who are fast asleep. And we've had a nice good look at the carcass. It'll be interesting to see as that carcass sort of disappears and what's left and how we can actually have a look at that hippo's anatomy as the carcass gets smaller, and maybe we'll be able to have a better look at the skin and stuff this afternoon. They might have moved the carcass a little bit. Obviously I don't want to drive everywhere around. There's lions sleeping all over the place. I don't want to disturb them, so we'll go down to the guys are out in the open. That one of them stood up and going to actually walk straight towards us. So here comes one of the lionesses heading back up towards the carcass very slowly. Nice fat belly. And there should be another 3 still lying down there. Welcome, Christine, and welcome on the Sunrise Safari. Christine would like to know how long it would take a pride of this size to finish that hippo if no other predator steals it. I would probably say they might be finished by tomorrow evening sometime, maybe the next morning. See, let's go. very tired male lion. It's amazing how much his mane has grown even in the last couple of months. Definitely getting to that point where he might not be welcome too soon in this area. Oh, thanks for another question this morning, Virginia. Virginia would like to know whether the hippo that's behind us would be afraid to leave the water because the lions are around. Virginia, you'll probably find that hippo will move off on the other side of the dam. At the moment, oh, I can't see it, it's underwater somewhere. At the moment, it knows it's very safe where it is. And also, you'll notice a lot of animals can pick up on other animal behavior. So like a full lion doesn't actually pose too much of a threat unless you stumble onto it. But I think the hippo will just use a different access far away from the lions. You can see how big this young boy's paws are getting. I think he's going to be a big male one day. And there's that big fat belly. Yeah, just cleaning after feeding. Lying in the shade, belly full of hippo. Good morning, George from Florida. George would like to know, would the Pride band together to defend the hippo carcass from hyenas? Most definitely, George, but the hyenas would also call in other hyenas, and I secretly hope for a bit of hyena-lion interaction this evening, so we'll definitely be checking up on that. But yes, they would, George. So guys, it's been finally a successful morning. We had an interesting morning of tracking. They chased something which we think was a giraffe, but quite far from here. So there was a lot of confusion trying to figure out where the tracks were. Scotty and Andrew came into the area to help me, and we'd driven the other side of the dam twice, but we hadn't driven on this western side. And then Andrew came in on the road, and he luckily saw the hippo carcass from the road, and he called us in. We were just down the road, still looking for the lions. But it's going to be quite exciting watching this sort of drama unfold over the next few days. We've got lions on the hippo carcass. Hopefully we might see some interaction with hyenas coming in. That will be really, really amazing to watch. And other than that, it's been a fantastic morning. I've really, really enjoyed having you all here. Thanks very much for all the questions. We really do appreciate it. And from all of us here at WildEarth, we hope you have a fantastic day, wherever you might be. And for the last few seconds, I'm sure you'd much rather look at a lion.